And so there are different solutions, okay? One solution the Catholic Church does is that it persecutes Jews, okay? So the Catholic Church allows Jews to exist just so that the Catholic Church can scapegoat the Jews. And throughout this time, as you can see, Jews are being persecuted mainly by being forced out of their homes where they lived for hundreds of years. Okay? And a lot of them are forced to go east into the Muslim empire and to go to Spain. Okay? But over time, they're being expelled from these regions. This is another map that shows the persecution of the Jews. As you can see, they're forced to go east. Okay? And often, there are lots of massacres as well. Okay? So the black spots, okay, the skull spots, are areas in which they were massacred. They were blamed for certain crimes. Okay? All right. So this is a map that shows the pilgrimages of Christians into the Holy Land. Okay? And again, it's a source of embarrassment for the Christians that their Holy Land is occupied by Muslims. And they have to pay a tax to the Muslims if they go into the Holy Land. Right now, the Holy Land, Jerusalem, is being controlled by the Seljuk Turks, okay? The Ottoman Empire. All right, and that's why Pope Urban II will eventually call for the Crusades to liberate the Holy Land from the Muslims. Okay, so can you read, please?
All who die by the way, whether by land or by sea, or in battle against the pagans, shall have immediate remission of sins. Oh, what a disgrace if such a despised and base race, which worship demons, should conquer a people which has the face of omnipotent God and is made glorious with the name of Christ.
Okay.
Let those who have been accustomed unjustly to wage private warfare against the faithful now go against the infidels and end with victory this war, which should have been begun long ago. Let those who for a long time have been robbers now become knights. Let those who have been fighting against the brothers and relatives now fight in the proper way against the barbarians. Let those who have been serving as mercenaries for small pay now obtain the eternal reward.
Okay, so this is Pope Urban II saying the Crusades. It's to go and fight the demons. If you fight a demon, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be poor, you could be rich, you could be a sinful person, you could be a nobody. But now is your opportunity to go to heaven, okay? Like when you go to fight the demons, you will all be guaranteed access to heaven, no matter who you are, no matter what you did. And so a lot of people go and join the Crusades for lots of different reasons, especially those who've committed crimes before, okay? So guess what? A lot of people who join the Crusades are criminals because here's your opportunity to get good with the church, okay? That's why we see a lot of abuse during the Crusades, okay? So as you can see, lots of people are now joining the Crusades in order to liberate the Holy Land. And eventually they succeed, okay? Even though a lot are criminals, they're still very good fighters because they have religious devotion, okay? They're very energetic. And unfortunately, they're too energetic, so they have a tendency to massacre people when they succeed because they literally see the Muslims and the Jews as demons. That's what the Pope taught them. One organization that developed during the Crusades is called the Knights Templars. Okay, this is very important. We'll be discussing Knights Templars later on. Okay, but the Knights Templars is really the first multinational bank because these pilgrims are going to the Holy Land and they need to bring money with them to fund the journey. But if they take a lot of money with them, then they'll get robbed, right? So what they'll do is they'll give the money to the Knights Templars. And then when they get to Jerusalem, the Knights Templars will give the money back to them, okay? So they're a bank, basically. And then they can use this money to start investing throughout Europe. And so they become a very wealthy organization. The problem is that because they're in Jerusalem and they're away from the authority of the Catholic Church, they start to embrace new ideas. they start to discover the true nature of Jesus from the Muslims and from other Christians in that area. And so the church thinks that to become more corrupt over time. And that's why their leader, Jacques de Molay, he is burnt at the stake. And in 1307, the organization is banned by the Catholic Church. But a lot of the survivors, they will go over to other places and they will form the basis of a secret society we call the Freemasons, okay? So we'll discuss the Freemasons later on. Okay, there's also something called the Albigensian Crusade. So there are still individuals who believe in the divine spark, okay? And these people are called the Cathars. And the church sees them as a threat. And that's why they launched a crusade against these Cathars, okay? So can you read, Alan?
Simon and many of his soldiers made determined effort to convert the Cathar perfect but failed.
Okay, so again, the Catholic Church is, if you disagree with us, it doesn't mean you're a heretic, it just means you're stupid. So so we first want to educate you in what is right, okay? But the Cathars believe that, no, the divine spark is in me. I know the truth for myself. You can never convince me, okay? Keep on going.
Ultimately, only 3 women recanted. The 140 who refused were burned at the stake. Some entered the flames voluntarily, not awaiting their executioners.
So if you believe in the divine spark, okay, if you believe you've discovered truth, you're not afraid of death. So the Catholics are saying, like, if you don't recant, we'll burn you at the stake. The Catholics are like, good. Keep on going.
In August, the crusade proceeded to besiege the stronghold of Termes. Despite sallies from period Roger, decabrate, the siege was solid. The occupants of Termes suffered from a shortage of water, and Raymond de Termes agreed to a temporary truce. The Cathars were briefly relieved by an intense rainstorm, and so Raymond refused to surrender. Ultimately, the defenders were not able to break the siege, and on 22 November, the Cathars managed to abandon the city and escape. By the time operations resumed in 1211, the actions of honored Armory and Simon de Montfort had alienated several important lords, including Raymond de Toulouse, who has been excommunicated again.
Okay, so as you can see, what's really important to understand is the crusade against Cathars is not just a religious crusade, it's also one of geopolitics, where the local lords resent the power of the Catholic Church, and so they support the Cathars, okay? All right, so, and this is going to happen throughout Europe. So the response of the church is to establish a new society led by Francis of Assisi called the Dominicans, okay, the Dominicans, which goes and basically tries to figure out who the Cathars are, okay, by interrogating everyone. All right. And this leads to, of course, the Inquisition. Okay? And so the idea is that if you disagree with church orthodoxy, they will figure it out. And if you refuse to recant, if you refuse to obey, they will burn you at the stake. Okay? So at this time in history, because of the Inquisition, because of the power of the Catholic Church, Western Europe is one of the least innovative places in the world, okay? All right, and at first this is fine, but eventually bad things start to happen in Europe, okay? So the little ice age begins, then you have the Great Famine, then you have more wars, then you have banditry, okay? And then of course you have the Black Death. So if the Catholic Church represents the will of God, and all this is happening, then is God really happy with the Catholic Church, right? So this is a Black Death, which kills about 1/3 of the European population. And people, because they're religious, they think that this is the will of God. It's because the Catholic Church, it's corrupt, it's evil, it's stagnant. That's why God is punishing us, okay? And this will lead to conflict within Europe, where the Catholic Church is actually broken into different parts as well, okay? So there are some who believe that Rome is the true center of the Catholic Church, but there are other people who believe that Avignon, okay, is the true center of the Catholic Church. And this creates even more legitimacy problems with the Catholic Church. All right, and then you have individuals who will emerge to challenge the orthodoxy of the Catholic Church. Okay, so this is Fray Dosina. We won't read. John Wycliffe is a British person who was he was not punished when he was alive, but afterwards, after he died, they decided he was a heretic. So what they did was they dug up his body and then burned him at the stake to make sure he burned in hell. Okay. Jiang Hus will lead a revolution. Okay, and this is called the Husic Wars. And none of them succeed, but then another man will emerge called Martin Luther, who will eventually lead a successful revolution against Catholic Church, and this is called Protestantism, okay? And we'll discuss Martin Luther next class. Next class we'll discuss the rise of capitalism, all right? Any questions, guys? Yes?
Like, there's a case of my mother's friend telling me that she, her husband has a severe cancer, and they try to pray to the Catholic Church, and like later the cancer just disappears, and they said it is miracle by the Catholic Church, and they all believe in the Catholic Church. Can it explain the miracle? Like, is there really miracle there?
Okay. Yeah, okay, that's a good question. Okay, so this is what we call the placebo effect. Okay? The placebo effect is basically you feel really sick. And you're like, doctor, I'm really sick. I'm going to die. Is there any medicine that can save me? And I'm a doctor, and I don't want to say there is no medicine. So I say, okay, well, here's a medicine, okay? It might help you, but this medicine does nothing. You take this medicine, and then you feel better. You get better, and this happens a lot. Okay, it's called the placebo effect. So why does this happen? It happens because if you understand that mind leads to matter, then your reality is shaped by your perception, your belief. Okay? So if you believe that this medicine can improve your body, then it will have effects, okay? The question though is, how much do you really believe in this medicine? Okay? So you can argue that cancer, it's really a question of loss of faith. What is cancer? Cancer is a splitting of cells, right? So why is your body literally falling apart? It's because you've stopped believing in yourself. You've stopped believing in the purpose of life. You've stopped believing that you have relevance in the world. Okay? So when you say, I want to cure my cancer, what you're really saying is, I want to find a new faith. I want to believe in myself again. I want to reestablish my relevance in the world. Okay, does that make sense? So you have that desire. When you have that desire, then the cure makes sense. Okay? So another way of saying this is, okay, let's just say that you don't feel well, right? Well, if your parents make you go see a psychiatrist, you probably won't feel better. But if you yourself want to get better and you go see a psychiatrist, you'll probably get better. Okay? So why this person, why he or she improved his or her cancer is because of faith. Okay? She wanted to get better. So if you're able to orientate your mind in a certain way, you're capable of tremendous miracles. Another idea is the idea of meditation, right? If you're able to control your thoughts, if you're able to calm yourself down, your body will heal a lot faster. Okay? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, any more questions? Okay, great. So next class, we will discuss capitalism.